Down here, Cottonwood Bayou, the whole shoreline, Ayers, all the way back down to Panther Point, Panther Lake. Basically, on the outside here is where you want to be. It's kind of where you want to target to begin with. A bite frame in the mornings if you're going to target trout. Super short bite window, especially coming here right here on the big moon that's going to be in place. Something to take in consideration. Make sure you downsize your profiles of your baits to a smaller bait. If you're going to fish early in the morning, if you're fishing late in the evening, still throw maybe the smaller version, maybe to the mid-size version if you're going to fish the moonrise minors when they happen. But your moon sets right now, those bite frame windows are really short. We're into the 30, 45-minute bite frame. Man, if you happen to squeak one out that maybe get to maybe an hour possibly, but they're really, as soon as that sun gets to about that 9:30, 10 o'clock window, you're pretty well, as far as trout goes, are pretty well dead. Now you can go and try to locate some redfish somewhere, see if you can grind out on them, but it's the same type of thing, man. It's just difficult right now. Water temps are getting warmer throughout the process of the day. Air temps obviously are getting warmer throughout the day. All that stuff factors in for the fishing. Makes things a little bit more difficult. As I said before, 3 toughest months for artificial guys and gals is June, July, and August. Now we've gotten past June. We're fixing to hit July full force. So that's all going to take place. Hope everybody has a great and safe, happy 4th of July that's coming up here pretty quick for us. So just make sure that you're safe out on the water. There'll be more people that will be out there, so just be a little bit more patient and have about 4 or 5 different locations that you can get to in case something may be covered up with people that you typically like to fish. Just take that in consideration. Get on this outer side out here on Panther Point here. All this shell that's on the outside of that, there's been nice, we've found trout that are all hanging out here on this outside edge. They want to be over shell. Hard packed sand is your 2 primary things structure-wise that you want to be. There's a tremendous amount of bait that's working in here. On the point, Panther, little shell reef that's right here across the way, all that there. You can even drift this deeper edge of the Panther reef that comes down here a little bit further deep into San Antonio Bay as you head westward across there, like toward the ICW and stuff. Come back around that, come fish the outside edge of here. Again, all hard-packed sand and shells where we're locating our trout. Pulling an occasional black drum out of there ever so often, but mostly it's trout that are out here. You got to probably catch 10, 12 smaller fish in that 14 to 16 inch range, and then you'll pull out a decent, maybe a lower slot fish that's around 17 to 19. But you just got to get through some baits, so that's a great thing. That's good about that when you're throwing artificials. You're not wasting a lot of material on losing baits out there, but some of the stuff that we've been throwing the original size and the burner shad. As we're headed into this this full moon phase, in and around that time frame. Again, 16th ounce jig heads, allowing that bait to really work for us down through the water column. Big Papa Pearl has been good. Twisted Tea has been good for us. Magic Grass has been good for us. Purple Rain's been pretty good. Watermelon Red, all those flavors in the down south. Firecracker has been good for us in a little bit more clear water. Mud Minnow's been good in the burner shads, and of course White Ice has been pretty good, and Bone Diamond have worked as well. As far as the knock and tail lures go, we've been throwing the greenbacks in the heavy metal. Of course, Rogue has been good for us for a while. We've caught more redfish on the Rogue flavor, especially in some of these back lake areas here when we've had enough water to really kind of deal with it. Out on these edges, it's been good there. Of course, the Market 54 jerk shrimp's been good in both the original size and the baby shrimp. That's been good in multiple flavors there. The baby shrimp coming up here in this full moon phase has been pretty good. So if you've got one of those or a couple of those, you may want to throw that either under popping cork if you so choose. You want to work it over pockets of grass or maybe edges like that where you got a little bit of drop off on some of these areas out here that it presents itself to you, or you can free line it in the potholes or on the edges of the sand and the grass structure that's in and out in those areas. So all that, those particular baits have been very good for us. Would continue to think that those will be fine as we proceed through the full moon and past it. this upcoming week. Again, pay attention to your tides. We're really losing a lot of water. So we've had super low tides early, and then it starts to come back in the afternoon. So take that into consideration as well. Majors and minors have been the main thing that we've really focused everything on. Anything really outside of that time frame has just been a grind. And that's probably going to be a continuing theme as we continue to progress through our summertime pattern here and in our heat. So if you can find those deeper edges as the day progresses, those fish will regress to that kind of stuff. If you're getting on the water early, that's a plus. And again, if you're going to strictly target trout, by that 10 o'clock time frame, it's pretty well done with them. Then you have to go locate some redfish if you can. Just continue to be patient with it, man. It's just lots of it's tough out there at the moment, but you can locate and find fish. Just kind of factor in everything that goes along with that and stack as many good things in your favor as possible to help you locate those fish. Fingers of Carlos, all in here, in and up and down these things. They've always been good. These reefs have been sticking out of the water early in the day, so you really get a good look at where everything structure-wise is, and it helps you kind of locate where you really want to be to work those baits on both sides of the fingers. You've got Spalding Reef that's out there, another area that you can get on, and you can walk that for a little ways. Getting over here past little Bird Island that's right there in that particular area there's been some fish that's been hanging in this area as well. You've got the old ICW that runs through there. You got a big shell bar that's right up here that you go through the double post there as you go into Carlos. This big bar right here goes all the way down to the old ICW. Then you can work some of these bars that are on the outside in Carlos itself. You've got a couple of different little reefs that are here, little satellite reefs. They're not super big, but they're in just a tad bit deeper water. So you're able to, especially with our lower tides, you can get out and wade these things because it's not super deep up in there, and it may be 2 or 3 feet, so it really lends itself to be able to work that. And you can get on these particular islands or these little reefs that are either in here in Carlos or just off the point of Carlos or right there by the old ICW, that big shell bar that runs off there. If you're coming through from Carlos headed into Aransas, everything off that right-hand side down to the old ICW is very wadeable and good. Lots of shell in there. There's fish hanging out over the top of those things. And then, of course, as that sun begins to rise, the water temps begin to heat up, those fish will move off to a tad bit deeper water because it's cooler, and that's where they want to be. It's more comfortable for them. So you get over that ICW because it's got a nice deep drop. And this is where, again, I've been throwing 16-ounce jig heads for a while. This is over there close to that ICW, especially when you got some current that's blowing through there. You may want to go to an 1/8 or maybe even just a tad bit bigger to a 3/16 to work those baits off of that edge down that shelf, the face of that gut down into that old ICW area. You can work up and down that. You just want to be careful as you get a little close to there. It might be a little treacherous. It drops off pretty quick. So you just want to be careful if you're going to wade that area. Just be aware of that. So putting those little bit heavier jig heads on there allows you to get into that deeper water later in the morning. Maybe even mid-morning. So if that's something that you want to try that, it's be a good location to do that. Or if you know other areas that have the same type of setup or structure that drops all that, ICW is really another good spot that you can work those types of areas too. You can get on, if you don't want to get out of the boat and you just want to stay on your boat and trolling motor, get down the edge of the ICW and use your down scan imaging, and you can locate some fish up and down that. And typically you can do okay. Again, majors and minors have been the main thing that we've caught all our fish in and around. Not a whole lot for the artificial game. Has been in between the bite frames. It's been very difficult. It's just been a grind to get fish to eat in between those frames. That's why the majors and minors are so key to us, is it allows that bite to kick in at some point in time. But again, you got to have some stuff that's in your favor. You got to have some bait fish that's working around there. You got to have some structure. Again, hard packed sand, shell has been the two main things that we've been locating all of our fish in and around, even with the redfish. Some of these, they've held a little bit of black drum, a lot of puppy drum. Fun to catch, but nonetheless, they're still there. So we'll pull out a few of those every so often. Trout, again, has been the main primary source, of course. Again, depending on what your water clarity is, we throw the Little Johns in the golden red glitter, and the kitchen sink, which is a golden, black, and white flake, but it's a translucent bait by Mirror Lure. It's been very effective at different points in times. especially when that bite frame is kicking in. Those fish will get aggressive with it and work it. If you got the right good enough water clarity to use it. Of course, in the down south, in both the original and the burner, just the ones I mentioned earlier, the firecracker, mud minnow, acid rain, magic grass, bone diamond, watermelon red. All those flavors have been good for us. Twisted Tea, Big Papa. Any of those that you want to throw have been good. There's another flavor that's out there that we've thrown a lot of too, especially around these reefs, called Copperfield in the original size. That's a 4-inch bait. And so around the full moon phase, that's the biggest that I'm going to throw is the 4-inch, or down to the burner shad, which is a 2 3/4 to 3-inch bait. Knock and tail's the same thing. The greenback, rogue, and heavy metal have been very good for us in those flavors as well. We've got some in the 3 1/4 inch that's in smoke flavor that's good, and watermelon red in that as well, of course. And again, the baby shrimp by Marker 54 has been good. So all those different baits and sizes is probably the key things that you're going to want to use in around this full moon phase until we start to get into those transition days. So just continue to use those. Again, majors and minors. Pay attention to what your tides are doing, because lots of these reefs are sticking out up here, so you must be aware. All right, here on Swan Lake shoreline here in Copano, this drop out here, this area here, I really like it because you got the deeper edge. You're coming off the flat right there. If you've got the right amount of tide, you can wade into that flat. It's got a bunch of grass, so it's a great top water area if you've got deep enough water to do it, and you can, that grass is not laid over enough that it's messing with your top water hooks. But if not, then you come to this edge. You can come this thing all the way down that takes you down into Port Bay and around the point down there. This whole little area it's a twofold area. So you can work it either in the summertime when it gets hot and get the deeper drop and those fish want to be comfortable. You can work in the wintertime when those fish want to start out there early in the morning, and then they come up as the sun warms up the flat. So great little area. Super times. You can catch some fish that are off this. You got a nice amount of structure that's in here. You got a deeper edge to it. So this is a great area for you to really target if you're down in here. And you can work this all the way back around on this west shoreline, all the way back to that 188 bridge. You've got lots of different opportunities. You got hard packed sand. You got edges. All these things lend itself really well to hold fish and have fish that are in there. And we've caught fish up and down this. Not just, not great fish. Again, just like I said earlier, you may catch 8 or 10 of the smaller version before you catch a solid one, or you may pull out a redfish or two here or there, or a drum, or maybe even a flounder or two. It's very possible in this whole area. That gives you that opportunity to do that. You got little cooler water access down in this area. You got great bait that's in here. Structure's perfect for this time of year. So the biggest thing is just making sure that you're patient. You can't just roll up here and spend 30, 45 minutes if you hadn't caught anything and move on. That's as long as you got signs that say, hey, there's bait working here, you got structure here, we got a major or minor that's coming up, just hang in there and work through it. Or time yourself to when you're there, when about that time that major or minor is going to kick off. Again, same thing in this area here. Same flavors we've been talking about in the last two little videos, is making sure you've got different options. Smaller baits around the big moon is a big thing. Burner shad, baby shrimp from Marker 54 is good. In the knock and tail, if you want to throw that 3 1/4 inch and smoke flavor, looks just like a little baby mullet. You can throw the soft dines. You can throw the little johns in different flavors depending on what your water clarity is. All those that we've already mentioned, same thing applies in this particular area as well. So again, just working up and down these areas, pay attention to what the tide's doing, see how it's rolling through there, see what's going on, make sure that you got activity. Again, the weather system is going to be warm, so you want to give yourself opportunity. Early morning, you want to fish shallow. Later in the morning or day that you want to get off on a little bit deeper edge, so those fish can get off there and be cool as far as yourself as well. I think the wading during the summer months is the best because it keeps you the coolest throughout the process of the day, depending on how long you want to fish. But that said, again, this area has been very good for us. Lots of different opportunities up in here. Again, be patient with it, locate and find your fish, and just stick with them.